The transport ship shook again as Daniel tightened the last bolt on the engine panel and wiped grease from his hands. He leaned back, staring at the blinking console as if it might suddenly confess why the navigation system insisted they were approaching something called Lithera Prime, instead of the quiet cargo route he had signed up for. Great, he muttered. Either the computer is drunk or I fixed the wrong galaxy. The pilot's voice echoed through the corridor. Mechanic, whatever you touched, the ship just jumped through 3 unauthorized hyperspace corridors. Daniel blinked. In my defense, the manual never said which button not to press. Moments later, the ship emerged above a planet, glowing with violet oceans and floating cities made of crystal towers. Hundreds of enormous starships hovered in orbit like a metallic storm. Daniel stared out the window. Okay, he said slowly. That's definitely not on the delivery route. Before anyone could argue, a beam of pale blue light locked onto the cargo ship. The entire vessel was pulled smoothly toward a colossal orbital arena. Loud alien music thundered through space, as if the planet itself were hosting the universe's most dramatic sporting event. Inside the arena hangar, armored warriors from dozens of planets stepped down from their ships. Some were giants with metallic skin. Others carried glowing energy blades across their backs. Daniel stepped out of the cargo ship with a wrench in his pocket and an expression usually reserved for people who had taken the wrong bus and ended up on another continent. A massive alien guard approached him. State your designation, warrior. Daniel looked behind him. You talking to me? Yes. All competitors must register. Competitors. Daniel pointed at the towering fighters around them. Buddy, I fix engines. The most dangerous thing I fight is a broken coffee machine. The guard frowned at a floating tablet. You arrived during the Royal Selection Tournament. Hundreds of warriors have gathered to compete for Princess Alira. Daniel sighed deeply. Of course they did. Hi. Above the arena balcony, Princess Alira leaned slightly forward, watching the crowd below. Her long, elegant ears tilted with curiosity as her glowing eyes focused on the one contestant who looked completely lost. Daniel scratched his head while staring at a warrior twice his size sharpening a plasma spear. Just once, he murmured to himself. I'd like to visit a planet where the welcome party isn't a gladiator tournament. Daniel stood among the warriors while a floating drone projected a glowing map of the arena. Symbols blinked across it, like an angry Christmas tree. The first trial, a mechanical voice announced, is the asteroid labyrinth. The warriors nodded with serious expressions. One of them cracked his metal knuckles. Another activated a glowing blade that hummed loudly. Daniel raised his hand. Is there a version of this trial where I stay inside and eat lunch? No one laughed. A guard pushed a small control bracelet onto his wrist. Each contestant will pilot a combat pod through the asteroid field. Last survivors advance. Daniel stared at the bracelet. I usually pilot screwdrivers. Minutes later, he found himself inside a small spherical pod. The controls surrounded him like the cockpit of a spaceship designed by someone who hated simplicity. Okay, he whispered, poking random buttons. Let's try not to explode. The arena doors opened. Hundreds of pods shot forward into space, where massive asteroids drifted, while plasma storms flashed between them. Warriors accelerated instantly, weaving through the field like professionals. Daniel's pod moved. Slowly. Good, he said. Slow feels safe. A giant armored pilot zoomed past him and shouted over the radio. Human, you will not survive 5 minutes. Daniel shrugged. Honestly, that sounds generous. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Two warriors crashed into each other nearby, sending their pods spinning. Daniel panicked and slapped the nearest lever. His pod lurched sideways, narrowly avoiding a rotating asteroid. Huh, he laughed nervously. Skill. Pure skill. Another pilot fired a plasma blast that shattered a rock ahead of him. The debris scattered everywhere. Daniel slammed another random switch. The pod released a maintenance pulse meant for repairing engines. Instead, it disrupted several nearby navigation systems. Three warriors immediately drifted off course and smashed into harmless containment fields. Daniel blinked at the console. Wait, did I just win a fight with a repair tool? High above, Princess Alira watched the chaos through a floating screen. One advisor whispered, "The human appears. Unconventional." Alira smiled slightly. Below, Daniel's pod gently bumped into a small asteroid and stopped moving. He sighed. "Well," he said to the empty cockpit, "at least I'm the safest bad pilot in the galaxy." Daniel stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by the last remaining warriors. Massive holographic screens hovered above them, while thousands of spectators filled the orbital stadium. The final trial had just ended, and somehow, through luck, confusion, and an impressive number of accidental button presses, the human mechanic was still standing. One enormous warrior folded his arms and glared at him. "You defeated my fleet simulation with a cargo transport maneuver." Daniel shrugged. "Look, I panicked and hit the reverse thrusters. Apparently your warships don't expect someone to drive backwards through an asteroid field." Another warrior stepped closer, clearly frustrated. "You are not even a trained fighter." "That is correct," Daniel replied. "I am barely a trained adult." A loud chime echoed through the arena. The warriors fell silent as Princess Aelira stepped forward from the high platform. The crowd waited for the final announcement. Daniel leaned toward a guard. "So, do I still have to fight someone, or is there a paperwork stage?" The guard whispered, "Silence. The princess will choose." Elira looked across the arena at the warriors who had crossed galaxies to prove their strength. Then her glowing eyes rested on Daniel. "For centuries," she said, "our people believed the strongest warrior should stand beside the throne." Several champions nodded proudly. "But strength alone does not build a future." The crowd murmured. She pointed toward Daniel. This human survived not with pride, but with curiosity, and a surprising number of mistakes. Daniel raised a hand. To be fair, most of those were high-quality mistakes. Laughter rippled through the arena. Alira continued. "He did not treat this as a battlefield. He treated it as an adventure. Our world needs more of that." The warrior stared in disbelief as she stepped down and stopped in front of him. "I choose the human." Daniel blinked several times. "Just checking," he said carefully. "Does choosing me come with less fighting?" Elira smiled. "It comes with helping me change an entire civilization." Daniel sighed, then nodded slowly. "All right," he said. "But first we fix your tournament registration system. I'm pretty sure I signed up by accident."